Last for it, so here we are. Let's do a Dark Academia roundup. If you're new here, hi, hello, my name is Max. I write books under the pen name Gemma Tate, and I did too much school. I went to prep school. I went to college. I did too many degrees in college. Then I went to grad school. Most of this was at very old institutions that are probably, definitely haunted. So I like to think that I do know what I'm talking about when I'm discussing Dark Academia. Now, here's the thing about Dark Academia. I think a lot of people on this app are describing books incorrectly when they talk about them in the context of Dark Academia. It's not just a book that takes place in a school. I'm sorry, Vampire Academy and Fourth Wing are not Dark Academia. You want a book that is more than just its aesthetic. You want a book that takes place within an academic system. You want a book that raises a discussion about classism and ivory tower elitism, and that should be part of the point. So with that in mind, here are some of my favorite books in no particular order that I would class as Dark Academia. The Secret History. It's the blueprint of the genre for a reason. Bunny by Mona Awad. Yes, it's weird. Yes, it's convoluted. Yes, if you've ever been in a college or creative writing class, it will feel familiar to you down to your bones. 3. A Separate Piece. It's one of those books that I read in like 8th grade and did not expect it to latch on and become a part of my psyche as much as it did. The only real knock against it is that I don't remember any significant female characters from the book. It's mostly about men. S, or Ship of Theseus by Doug Dorst and J.J. Abrams. Yes, that J.J. Abrams. It's magical. It's wonderful. It's one of my favorite books I have ever read. I genuinely do not have a single knock against it. It's a book, but then there's also another story that you're reading in the notes in the margins of this book. It's a love story. It's a mystery. It takes place in a graduate apartment on a college campus. It's great. Read it. The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern has absolutely everything that I'm looking for in a Dark Academia book, except for possibly plot. And honestly, that's a sacrifice that I'm willing to make. If you want a book that has arguably too much plot, The Magicians by Lev Grossman. It's Narnia for depressed grown-ups who went to grad school. As a depressed grown-up who went to grad school, this is great for me. Speaking of depressed grown-ups who went to grad school, if you haven't read Babel by R.F. Kuang, you should do that. If you like books, I'm on your For You page. I'm assuming that you like books. If you like magic, if you like linguistics, if you just like conversations about colonialism, go read Babel. Likewise, if you like conversations about colonialism and classism and racism and you like to talk about those things with your academia, you should read Leadenborn. It's Arthurian stuff with swords at UNC and also with magic. Like, come on. Next up, the Scholomance books, or A Deadly Education, that whole trilogy by Naomi Novik. It's magic school, except that the school is trying to unalive the students, so that's fun. Also, it's really great. It's Naomi Novik. What other reason do you need? Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell is not academic institution Dark Academia so much as it is society men with too much money academia, but it's fun and it feels like a good conversation between academics in like an interesting way, and also there's a really scary, very fun fairy. When we talk about Olivia Blake's books, people bring up the Atlas Six as her Dark Academia book. I actually disagree. I don't class the Atlas Six as Dark Academia because while it does engage with academics, the content of the book does not feel anything like academia. And to this point, the conversations about classism and ivory tower elitism are there, but not in a way that I feel really gels with the book's aesthetic. However, Olivia Blake is excellent at writing Dark Academia. The trouble is that I think that Alone with You in the Ether is a better example of how she does it. So if you haven't read that, and if you don't mind a book that is more vibes than plot, you'll have a great time. Possibly a depressed time. Don't go off your meds after reading that book. Also, I'm currently reading An Academy for Liars on one device and Emily Wilde Encyclopedia of Fairies on another, so we'll see if those end up being fully added to the list. I'm genuinely really enjoying them both right now. What are your favorite Dark Academia books? If I left yours off, please let me know in the comments.